Let me begin with one of the most Northern Irish conversation starters you will ever hear.
Well, lad, what's the crack? Not a big pile. What about yourself?
So ingrained in us is this conversation that even though we have the biggest news of our lives to share, we'll still say, not a big pile. And so we had to come up with a new phrase that would then lead us into the interesting point of conversation. So we say, hey, did you hear? I don't know if you have ever tried to keep good, exciting news a secret, but it's really, really hard. And this couple who travelled along the Emmaus road, who met the wise stranger, who invited him back to their house, and who saw the risen Jesus right before their very eyes, they couldn't contain their excitement. And so in verse 33 of Luke 24, we're told that they got up that same hour to retrace their steps back to Jerusalem to share the exciting news with everybody else. The question is, how did they do it? Well, in a format that's really familiar to us. In verse 34, they basically start off by saying, hey, did you hear? Jesus is risen. And then in verse 35, they go on to tell the details of what happened when and who said what. The same conversation style that we use all the time. You might well be asking, Jonny, what's your point? Well, two things. Number one, we need to share our faith normally. Have a conversation that's normal. Having a spiritual conversation, sharing your faith, evangelism, is not always big, deep and meaningful spiritual moments, but it can be an everyday conversation. Jesus was an absolute expert at taking everyday normal things and teaching a spiritual truth through that. I remember hearing a preacher illustrate this, and he was talking about this one day, and he started to describe how, we get our wee script all kind of memorized and we go over it in our head and what the ideal scenario would be, and we kind of wait for our moment, on the sidelines. We're just waiting and we're all nervous and we're getting ourselves all psyched up, like the young teenage boy who was going to ask the girl to dance, and he's so nervous and he's getting himself all psyched up. And when we finally get our opportunity, the poor unsuspecting person just gets attacked by, do you want to go to church? We need to practice and share our faith normally and have a conversation with other people about it. And secondly, share your story. One of the best quotes I think I have ever heard is that your testimony is ministry to someone else. I'm going to say that again. Your testimony is ministry to someone else. Just imagine these two on the road to Emmaus were just sitting at home and decided, we'll just stay here. Wasn't it great that we met Jesus? Wasn't it great that he told us all of this stuff? And we'll just stay here. All of the others would have been back in Jerusalem, still stressed, still anxious, still worried and confused about all that was going on. And they were actually sitting waiting for someone to come and to confirm it and to tell them what had happened. Somebody might just be sitting waiting to hear your story. I believe your story is one of the simplest and easiest ways for you to start and share your faith. And share daily things. Not just, I got saved back whenever, but keep sharing what God is doing in your life now in normal conversations. Conversations, they're amazing. Talk to other people, you were made for it. Talk to Jesus, you need it. And talk to other people because they might just be waiting to hear it.